Hi, my name is Lunga Lukuzwa and I'm an accountant based in Sandton. In this video, we're going to go through my plan to pass the APC SAICA Board Exam. Enjoy. Some of you may be unfamiliar with the CASA stream, so in this video I'm going to briefly go over what the SAICA Board Exams are, how they differ from one another, and what is my 3-step plan to pass it. What are the SAICA Board Exams? Well, in South Africa, to qualify as a chartered accountant, which is the equivalent of a CPA in the United States, a candidate would need to graduate with a bachelor's degree in accounting and a postgraduate qualifications in accounting. We call this postgraduate qualification the CTA, which stands for the Certificate of Theory in Accounting. And after qualifying with your postgraduate qualification, you would then need to embark on 3-year articles where you work as a trainee accountant and take 2 board exams during the time. These 2 board exams will be taken during your training articles. You write your first exam immediately after qualifying with your postgraduate qualification. You write it sometime in January. And then you would move on after 18 months from writing your first exam, the ITC, which stands for the Initial Test of Competence. You would then take on your APC, which is the Assessment of Professional Competence. Now the question is, how do they differ? Well, the ITC, which is the Initial Test of Competence, will profoundly assess your knowledge in financial reporting, auditing, companies law, corporate governance, code of professional conduct, cost and management accounting, corporate finance, and tax legislation. The ITC, or the Initial Test of Competence, echoes the sentiment that it's simple, but it's not easy. It's simple because there's right and wrong answers, right? But it's not that easy because of the volume of the work and the complexity of it all. You write the ITC over 2 days. On each day, you are given 2 exams. Each exam is 3 hours long. So in total, you write 4 exams, 3 hours long, making it a total of 12 hours. The second exam is the APC, the Assessment of Professional Competence. And this one, this one, akitibi dinsang ne. No, your answer is right. No, your answer is wrong. Nkari this paper, like Leon, it doesn't know what it wants. Okay, jokes aside. So the APC is a paper that emulates real life. So unlike the ITC, in which you take your pen and then you write your answers on paper, you are actually expected to respond to a series of emails which is sent to you either by the CFO or the financial manager in a way that a qualified chartered accountant would. So the APC already assumes that you're a qualified chartered accountant. That's how they assess you. So you need to type in your answers, right? You need to think, okay, if this was an actual person and I was dealing with an actual company, how would I respond to this email? So when you type your email, you need to be mindful of your tone. You need to think about your language. You need to be also mindful of jargon, right? You can't now, let's say the email comes from a bank manager and all of a sudden, when you are there, EBITDA, IS-37 contingent liabilities, CGT. A bank manager doesn't know what the that is, right? You need to think, okay, this person doesn't understand high finance. They don't know IFRSs. They don't know the tax legislation or the Companies Act for that matter. So you need to type your answer in a way that is A, comprehensible, right? Your answer needs to be intelligible, easy enough to understand by anyone. And B, you need to be efficient. You need to communicate your point across efficiently so that the other person knows exactly what you're sending them and you said it in a way that they can understand. So one of the ways in which the APC differs from the ITC is that in the APC you will be given the PRI, which is the pre-release information. And what happens here is that you will wake up on Friday morning at 8 a.m., receive the PRI, and then your job is to prepare for the IOD. After the 5 days, you will be given the IOD, which is the information on the day. So you'll wake up on Friday and you start preparing, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, you will now go to the exam venue and actually take your exam based on the IOD that they give you, the information on the day, which consists of another series of emails which is sent to you. And this is similar to real life, right? When you are working in corporate as a professional, you will be given a task or a project, and your job is to now prepare and be knowledgeable on that subject area so that when you show up in the office for the next meeting, you will know exactly what is going on. People are going to ask you questions, whether it's your managers or your subordinates. Some information will now show up that you had no idea about. And now you need to think on your feet based on the things that I read about, based on my knowledge, based on my preparation. This is what I know, and this is how I can incorporate the new information in order to give a feasible business solution. What SAICA means by competence, you need to be the kind of person who is able to make an informed decision in an ethical and timely manner that benefits all stakeholders. So what is my three-step plan in order to pass the SAICA APC board exam? Well, before you even take the board exam, you first need to enroll for a board course. And one of the board courses that you can enroll for are the APT, the UCT board course. There's also Indunamo, and I think IAS also has a board course of its own. Because before you take that exam, SAICA doesn't want any chance takers. They don't want somebody who fell from the sky and now they are going to write. No, you need to enroll for a board course, pass the board course, and then once you have your certificate from the board course, whether it's APT, UCT, or Indunamo, IS, whatever, because there's quite a few of them, then you go and write your SAICA board exam. They don't want any chance takers. No chancers here. So in addition to the board course, what I am doing in my own spare time is sitting down, right, and getting as much materials as I can, either from the board course itself. Even the SAICA website also has their own resources that you can use in order to study, typically past exam papers. And I take these exam papers from board course, from the SAICA website, and I print out. I go to the office before I knock off and go home, right? I'm gonna print out some papers, and I'm gonna print out the PRI, the pre-release information. I'm gonna print out the IOD, and I'm gonna print out the suggested solution, which is why it's the three-step plan, because there are three documents that I'm gonna print out. So the first document, the PRI, I'm going to print it out, and then I'm gonna sit down and I get home and I'm gonna be like, okay, here's the pre-release information, right? This is what I'm given before the actual exam day, where I write the exam based on the IOD, the information on the day. I read the PRI, I highlight, and I try to identify triggers. What are the things that I am expected to prepare for on the IOD? I read it and I don't just write down what the trigger is, right? I go in actual depth as to why did I identify this as a trigger? What are the things that I am actually supposed to cover here? So they speak about a loan. So then I think to myself, okay, which accounting standard covers the loan, right? It's going to be IS 32, it's going to be IFRS 9, it's financial instruments. I write that down. Okay, I need to now prepare for the accounting treatment of this loan. Then I need to think, okay, how could this evolve? Right? Because when you're a chartered accountant, you need to add value in the company that you work for, right? You're not just supposed to, okay, this is what we do. It's like, okay, what if this changes? You need to make actual business decisions. Should we consider an alternative source of finance? So now you need to start thinking, okay, what other alternatives should I take into account? Should I look into debentures? Should I look into corporate bonds? Should I look into preference shares? Right? What equity or debt instruments would be much better than this loan that we have here currently? And then I need to like, okay, let me look into the pros and cons of this. And obviously, you should do this based on what information is given to you in the PRI, right? You don't just randomly now start studying IS 32 or IFRS 9 when you didn't even identify it in the scenario. You need to sit down and then look into all of these things depending on the email. You need to look, oh, okay, I might need to prepare for the tax consequences of these things. All right, what tax legislation covers this? Section 24J covers interest. Am I getting this loan internationally? Should I now consider Section 25D or Section 24I? Should I look into Section 8F in case this loan now develops into a convertible loan on the IOD? So you sitting down and I'm writing down exactly in detail what are the things that I am going to prepare for, right? I'm not actually going to research these things. I'm just printing. I don't have time, right? In the board exam, there we did take a mock exam, and we were given enough time. We even had leave at work in order to go prepare for it. But in order to learn and prepare, in addition to my board course, what I'm doing is I'm printing the PRI out. I'm identifying my triggers in detail. That is very, very, very important, right? It's imperative that you write it down and read exactly what it is where you're going to cover if this was an actual SAICA APC exam. And then after I've identified all my triggers per email, which is something that I also recommend, right? Don't just identify the triggers, categorize them per email. This email identified these triggers. This email identified these triggers. Then I'm like, okay, I'm done with the PRI. Now moving on to step 2. Now I need to look at the IOD, the information on the day, and I'm reading and I'm highlighting and I'm thinking to myself, what are they asking me here? And I write that down because that is something that I'm actually going to do in the SAICA board exam. When I receive that IOD, as I'm reading it, I actually write down what it is that they're asking me for. Because sometimes in one email, right, you will find 3 different requirements nested in it, in a single email. And sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 5. Sometimes they're asking for the tax consequences of option 1 and 2, strategic considerations, and the accounting implications. That's already 4 things. two tax-related questions, strategic considerations, and the accounting treatment. All right. And it's very, very, very easy to now forget to answer or to address one of the issues that they're asking for in the IOD. And that is quite detrimental to your pass, because if you do not address every single thing that they're asking you for, that can easily move you from a C, right, a competence, to a BC, which is borderline competence, which is not a pass, or to even worse, an LC, a limited competence. So you need to read that IOD and write down exactly what are the things that they're asking me for here. And when I'm done with that, I move on to step 3. This is when now I start reading and studying and trying to learn as much as I can from the memo, the suggested solution. I am looking at the suggested solution and I'm thinking, what are the things that I missed during my pre-release information? What are the things that I did not cover? Because that's very important, because now I'm trying to bridge a gap between the PRI and the suggested solution. What are the things that I missed and how do I ensure that I don't miss them the next time? Right? I've noticed through this process that I have a tendency of missing VAT. So that asking for the tax consequences and I go through the income tax implications, right? But I do not consider the value added tax. So now I know that, hey, I should be on the lookout for any VAT consequences whenever they ask me for VAT, for tax consequences. So that step is very important. And when I'm done with that, when I'm reading this memo and I'm highlighting and I'm trying to bridge the gap between my pre-release information, my triggers that I identified, and the suggested solution, I then start reflecting. Right, I'm thinking to myself, okay, how do I make sure that I don't miss this the next time? How do I improve? What are the things that I actually learned, both from a technical context, but also from a professional context? Like, this person wrote this email very well. It had a very logical flow. I need to start writing my emails like that. I need to start being more professional in my responses. I need to remember that I'm actually typing an email to another person on the other side. If a recipient were to read this email, which is my answer that I'm going to submit in the exam, how would they interpret it? Am I clear enough? Am I concise? Did I avoid any unnecessary verbiage? Did I actually address all the things that they were asking me of? Disclaimer, guys, this is just my plan. I'm not saying this will work. I'm going to find out as well. If I pass, I will update the channel and let you guys know how it went. If I fail, however, I will also update the channel and let you guys know to not take my advice. I failed. This is just my plan, and I thought it would make good for a topic for a video on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Peace.